Hey, another speech. This one's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to tell you uh, I'm going to tell you about a vision I had in 1997. A vision that was quite incredible. And I'm Dave Campbell, and I'm starting a global mission, vision, revolution, as Chris calls it. I don't know if I'd go that far. Maybe it is. But what I'm trying to do is gain a following of the people. And gain a following, it sounds like a selfish kind of a thing, but yeah, if you're going to start a movement, you have to have people follow behind it, right? So I guess that's the idea. But the outcome is what I'm after. I'm not after a bunch of people following me is what I want to happen in society and for our world. I want everybody to have peaceful, joyful lives and prosperity, because there's more than enough for everybody. And the way that our leaders continue to run their affairs in each country is to use their advantages of governance, whether it's commercial governance, commercial leadership, or actual government leadership. They always find a way to start using it for their advantage and taking from the people and keeping knowledge and resources from the people, as though they were the only ones that mattered, and as though there's not enough to go around. It's actually quite a very limited and depraved, or stupid. I hate to use the word stupid or retarded, but it's really there's got to be some deficiencies of mind in people who gravitate toward money, when money is only a representation of abundance. Look at behind me here. This is everybody's. Water, food, land. There's more than enough. Every monetary systems and money is an expression of trade that is grossly underused, and I'd say undervalued. The rich people want to hang on to their money as though it was a representation of their abundance. But really, what they've done is they've used it to show how limited their thinking is. These cranberries, or whatever, they sell fake berries, are very pretty. They even match my hat. Look at that. Let's look at these. Oh, these beautiful berries on this tree. And look at how late in the season it is, and look at how much beauty there still is. It's never ending. It's just like life is never ending. Anyway, I was going to tell you a story, a vision I had, and I'm going to. October of 1997, 3 in the morning, I feel this presence around me. It's love and peace times 10,000. That's the only way I can describe it. Love and peace and a mist. There was a white mist came into my bedroom from through the ceiling and it was surrounding me. And I was so overwhelmed with this feeling of love and peace, I was speechless. And I became aware that I was lifting up and raising up right out of my bed, and I went up through the rafters, through the ceiling roof, and out the top of the roof, and up and away I went. And I went up into the sky, and I was heading in a southeasterly direction, or southeasterly direction. I don't know how I knew that, I just knew it. And it seemed like 20 minutes I was way up, just like you would look down out of your airplane window. I'm holding this really close because it's windy and I don't want to lose the sound. So I'm looking down at the city lights, much like you would if you're in a plane, at 20,000 feet or whatever. And pretty soon I started coming into a city, and I was guessing it was maybe New York City or Pittsburgh. I don't know. I really don't know what city it was. But I came down and hovered in a parking lot in a not a busy side of town, just it's 3 a.m, so it wasn't busy anywhere, but there were no cars going. It was in a parking lot on the back side of the main street. And I noticed that about 100 feet away from me, maybe 150 feet to 100 feet away from me, there were 10 young men picking on a lady, a young, beautiful lady who had just looked like she had just gotten out of work, and she was clenching tightly to her purse, and the 10 thugs were trying to steal it from her. And I noticed that my feet weren't on the ground. I mean, it was about probably 7 to 12 inches, I don't know, off the blacktop. And I was amazed that I was just there and watching, and I had this feeling of love and peace. And but I was troubled for this young lady. And then I didn't say anything. I wanted to say something, but I just knew something was going to happen. Sure enough, one of the guys, I'm going to go back to my car, finish this in the car. One of the guys noticed me, and he came over to me, and he was cussing at me. And so I, without any anger or anything, I reached out with my left hand, and I put it on his neck, right under his jaw, right on his neck. Would have been on his right side. And as soon as my hand touched his neck, under his jaw, he dropped to the parking lot. Just poof, went out cold. Well, then the other guys noticed, and they come over, and one by one, they, challenged me. I did the same thing. I put my hand right in their throat like that, and down they went. Boom. And there was a pile of them there, and I looked over, and the young lady was gathering her purse up off the ground, off the parking lot, and she went. She was gone. And I was glad, and I thought, well, that's good. And then before long, I started walking, and I got on a sidewalk, and I walked, and pretty soon this old lady with a knit hat came walking toward me, and she was muttering, and she didn't act like she even saw me. And I thought, well, this is interesting. I know I'm in a dream or a vision or something from the Lord. So I was like, maybe I should give her some love. Maybe she should feel some of this love in my hand. I'm going to touch her head. I'm just going to touch her head and see what happens. So as I was going by, I reached up my hand like this. I guess I was over this way, right? And to my surprise, my hand went right through her head and her hat. So I guess I was in the Astral body, right? That would make sense, wouldn't it? And anyway, she stopped and she looked upward, not at me, but she looked straight forward because we were passing on each of us on our left side, I guess it would be. And she kind of shook her head a little bit and put her head back down, and there she went. She went off again on her way. Didn't even hear me. Didn't see me, I guess. So after that, I kept walking, and I walked up on a group of young and old people who had been displaced from their home. It was like families that were homeless, and they were by the side of a building, and they had cardboard boxes and some lean-tos, and I just had so much love for them. I went up to each of them, and they come up to me, and we were hugging. I hug them, and this love and this healing feeling was coming out of me. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is so much love. And the people were just so happy. Their faces lit up. And I hugged every one of those people. And I don't know, maybe there were 40 of them. I don't know. I don't remember. But there were quite a few, young and old. And then just like that was over, and it was time for me to go. So I said a silent goodbye, and they knew I was going to leave. So then I started walking, and then I started floating up. And I went up, and I went just over the building tops in this city. And I was high enough up in the air at one point where I looked down at the roofs of the building, the tall buildings, and I saw a church building up ahead, and I said, oh, wow, that's really pretty. And it had a big steeple, a big, steep black roof, and it was easily a 14-12 pitch. It was really steep. And I came in, I sunk right in through the rooftop over the pulpit end of the church. And I was going down through the building at a 45-degree angle over the pews, not fast, just slow, just nicely. And my head was up and my feet were down, but I was just amazed at how this feeling of love and peace never left me. And then as I approached the back of the church, there's the foyer doors. You got the main foyer doors in the center, and then you got one door on each side. Well, I went through the double doors, and I right smack in the middle of the foyer, and then the double doors to the outside of the church were right in front of me. And they were open, and I was there about 12 inches off the floor or whatever, hovering there. And I thought, uh-oh, something's going to happen. And sure enough, guess who came walking up the steps from outside? It was a demon who was red of face, had deep creases, and when he looked up at me as he came up the stairs, he quickly glanced down because he didn't want me to have any acknowledgement at all. And he went to my left side, which was his right, to the right entrance on the far side of the church, and he tried to get in that door. He couldn't. And he resolutely turned, went back to the back, crossed over in front of me, all the way over to his left side, the left side of the church, and tried to get in to the sanctuary that way. Couldn't get in. Now I could see that he was getting frustrated. Then he walked back into the double doors that were out where he came in from and squared off with me. He was about 8 feet away, and he began to light into me with the most incredible expletives I have ever heard. Now, I'm an old sailor, so I've heard lots of cussing. I've never heard cussing like this. He was mad. And well, at that point, I started to get this feeling of indignation. I'd never lost that love and peace in my heart that I felt, in my whole body, actually. I felt it around me, in front of me, underneath me. But here's what happened. As I began to look at that individual, that demon, with anger and rage, I kept getting closer and closer to the ground, kind of like I was being grounded. And as soon as my feet touched the floor of the foyer, this powerful beam, it was words and energy, the spiritual energy that was all around me, it was like from my navel up to my mouth, just went and shot out and hit that demon, and it knocked it straight back out of the church. And I was like, wow, that happened. I didn't say that, but I was like, that's amazing. It was quite an amazing thing. And some time went on, maybe 5 minutes or so. I was just taking it in because I was like, wow. And then I began to walk down the steps. I went outside, walked down the steps, and then I got to the concrete right by the street there, and then I started to rise up. And this time when I rose up, instead of feeling angry, I felt the opposite. I felt more and more peace and love, and I couldn't contain the amount of peace and love that I felt. So I started to just trickle down with tears. I was like, Jesus. I could feel Jesus's presence up above me, but I didn't see him. And it was just such an amazing feeling of love. And before I knew it, I was coming back down backwards through the rooftop and settling down in this big misty, and I was next to my wife, and I tried to say, I remember this, I couldn't say her name. But she didn't even really stir, and she didn't hear me, but I wanted her to feel that or see that mist, but she didn't. But anyway, that's a vision. It really happened. I wrote it all down. It's recorded. I've had, probably 10 or 11 visions that I've written down. But I don't think that's, I didn't know if that was unusual, but I never told anybody that. I certainly never videotaped it. But now it's time to tell people. If you want proof that the Lord has touched me and He's shown me things, there's a little bit. I've got a ton more. Take care.